What's up and welcome back, War Gamers. We're doing a very special tactics talk for you today. Today we have our good buddy Jarod in the house. Well, not in the
Hello
house. He's in
again,
the,
Battle Shock War Gamers.
we're in the virtual house. So we're doing a tournament recap, right? So we all went to the Boise Cup tournament recap. I got to play with the Rage Babies, and Jarod did really well. I did it pretty well, and we
Did
just
really
want to go
well.
through our stuff. So, Jarod, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Doing great. It's a sunny day in Boise. I'm just enjoying the weather. How about you, buddy?
I left Boise and it's hot. I came back here and it's hot.
Trade one for the other.
But it's been a busy day. I've been filming all day with David. So we got that video coming out soon. And then, but I wanted to get this while it's still hot and fresh in everybody's mind. I was listening to Honest Wargamer, his podcast, and he talked about your list. It was on there.
I saw that. I was pretty excited. That was cool.
Yeah. So it was a great tournament, and it was put on by a guy named Aaron, right?
Yes, Aaron Albert.
And
he does one of the best here in the state of Idaho.
It was 60, how many players? 62, wasn't it?
I think we were in the 70s. It was huge. It was much bigger than our San Diego tournament, which surprised me.
It was massive, massive. And what was the name of our venue?
That was ABU Games.
Which is also, like, for those who have never been there, we're in what used to be a giant basketball court, right?
Yeah, it was an old workout gym. It was like Idaho Athletic or something.
This place was massive. Luckily the AC was pumping and it was nice and cool the whole time.
Last year it was so bad. The AC
was it
not working. Oh, it was sweating. We had Super Smash Brother players in there too. Crazy.
So what was your list? What did you bring today or that weekend?
Compared to how you guys might see my list when it's officially submitted, I'm just going to kind of go top to bottom from my phone, so it might not be the same as what you see. But I brought Archmage Teclis as my general. The reason for that is he's an excellent opportunity to do this one's mine. And then the one that had the artifact was a Hurakan Windmage, and he had that 4-up ward save because Teclis is in my army. It's normally a 6 if Teclis is not. 2 squads of Vanari Auralan Wardens, a Vanari Dawn Riders, and as we all know, that double reinforced Vanari Sentinels. And then we had 3 endless spells: Umbral Spell Portal, Purple Sun, and the Rune of Petrifaction.
That's so good.
Petrification.
I'm so excited that Teclis is a thing again.
But you know what that means, bro? That means Be'lakor is on the rise. He's seeing these massive point units out there, and those Be'lakor players are like, I'm coming back, baby, with a fashion.
And I think so, because I mean, you're seeing a lot of like god models, you're seeing a lot of like Death Stars, and mine's a god model and a Death Star.
Yes, Alariel.
Like I think they would have a lot of play in my list. So my list, I'm taking Alariel. I'm taking the Warsong Reverent. The Warsong has my artifact, the Vespal Gem. And that allows him to cast from the lore of the Tree Song, or of the lore of the Deepwood, for free. You just auto cast it. So that's pretty neat. It cannot be unbound. And then he's Spellslinger, so he's casting through trees all over the place.
Don't need a spell portal.
No spell portal for me. 2 units of Dryads. Dryads are cheeky because they're -1 to hit and wound next to trees. So they're surprisingly tanky. Like in the battle report that we posted last week, David's dragons struggled to kill 10. And you're like, that -1 to hit, -1 to wound can take some stuff to 5s and 5s. And
that's 4s and 4s on dragons, man.
Yeah, that's rough. Then I'm taking a reinforced unit of Kurnoth Hunters with the scythes. So those are Ren 3 damage 4 damage 2 scythes. And those guys are chonky. I mean, they're 5 wounds apiece, 3-up save. And then we're taking the Spite Swarm Hive, which is a +3 to move and charge.
An Alpha Strike. Deck right there. Ouch.
So how does your list function? Like, what is its main thing that it does? Is it just Teclis just casting like a madman?
Well, I'm going to be honest right out the gate. If anybody needs some heavy shoulders, it's that Purple Sun. That Purple Sun carried me through my first 3 matches.
Yeah.
Not only in match 1 against Liam Sylvanet did it, and this is in 1 activation, which means the first time it triggered, I rolled 2 1s in a row on 2 Tree Lords. Ugh.
That's rough.
And then my second match was against Seraphon, my worst matchup, which I come to find out is not my worst matchup with that 4-up Spell Ward from Teclis. But 1 activation, 2 1s, I was able to suck in a Engine of the Gods and a Stegodon, and he reached his hand out and was like, "That's game, buddy." And I was like, "Dang, this Purple Sun."
How much did Purple Sun eat by the end? How many points? Was it like
We are
1,100, 1,200?
At least 1,500 points in value over 5 matches, because the last one that I got in my 3rd match was an Incarnate on the 2nd battle round after I de-leveled it. Battle round 1. Battle round 2, rolled a 1 right when I needed it. And he was like, "Well, that's my Incarnate." I'm telling you, the Purple Sun, it's either got to change or I got to model some heavy shoulders, some big old shoulder pads on that bad boy, because he carried me. But then Teclis does stuff too. But that Purple Sun.
So it's all about the Purple Sun. So my list is slow plays. I know it's
I did not want to face you.
It's slow plays. I just delete 1 unit at a time.
Yep.
And I just
turn by
with
turn.
with a 3-up rerolling charge and then the strike and fade, I'm taking no damage. I'm deleting units. And so I'm a single drop, so I'm usually letting them go first, so I don't get doubled. And then I just decide I kill this, and it's not until turn 3 or 4 turn 3 that I've killed so many units that I really start to push out. So they usually start taking a point lead 1, 2, and 3, and then I have to come back.
You give them those first few turns, and then you play catch up.
I was almost always the last table playing. Did you notice that?
I did. You play till the end.
Every game is 5 battle rounds. So let's go over your first game. Who'd you play against? What'd you play?
So that was Liam Bell. I might mess up some of the names. Liam Bell playing Sylvaneth. This was Tree Lord spam, Sylvaneth. Do you know what subfaction that is, where you spam Tree Lords and they get their best?
Oakenwood. Oaken Bow. Yeah, I have his list in front of me because I played him too.
Okay, I was gonna say it's whatever you take as many wounds as you want, and it doesn't bracket you till like you're down to your last.
Which means they just don't bracket.
Yeah, Liam, excellent player, excellent Sylvaneth player. We got a game in before the tournament, but as soon as those AoE mortal wounds were pumping out from Teclis, and we're talking Runa Petrifaction was down, and you know he took some strong advice from me from our first game. I told him, you know, if I force you to go first, you go all out. You teleport all of your Tree Lords up the board, and you go for those 9-inch charges because you need to put a maximum amount of damage on me. And he ended up sparing me in that game because he charged me with 2 of the 4 or 5 committed Tree Lords and then stopped. And I was like, Liam, you're sparing me. So after our match, I told him, I was like, Liam, if it wasn't for you sparing me right there, who knows if you would have got those 9-inch charges, but you should have committed everything to me right then and there and charged me and beat up my paper thin, battle line units and left Teclis on the board by himself. So I give a lot of credit to Liam. I think he definitely spared me round 1.
Yeah. It's a strong list. We'll talk about that list more in a little bit because I had to play it too. My first game was a win against a guy named Spencer. You know Spencer, right?
Spencer Hughes and the Dwarf Boys.
So Fire Slayers, he's playing the Greyford Large, and it's Volkites, Magmadroth, Magma Daddy on the Magmadrythe, and then it's Berserkers. And then he's got the guys with the Hearthguard Berserkers with the axes, and then he's got the Hearthguard Berserkers with the pole axes. And then he has that big Molten Infernoth, that invocation. So they had some surprisingly interesting tech against my list because I'm supposed to come in, strike one thing, kill it, and run away. He'd come in, I'd come in, hit something, and he fights first because of his counter strike. So
fights first, but you can still make a fight.
Well, yeah,
correct. With your Tree Lords, can't they roll a dice to make?
I don't run Tree Lords. My list has no Tree Lords.
Oh.
I could summon one Tree Lord, but I don't have a fight last. So okay. it is
So
what
used
it
to
is.
Liam doing that to me, making me fight last. So I thought, just
Yeah. So I'd come in, I would take the hit, and then I'd smash him. I'd come in, I'd take the hit, essentially, and then I'd smash him. But I kind of avoided his really big axes, and his big Hearthguard Berserker units because they would do too much damage to me on my turn.
Yeah, they're
That
really
was
good against bringing down hard targets.
that was a really rough first match. It was the bottom of 5. We were tied on primary, and it went to battle tactics complete. I did 5, he did 4, so it was a minor victory.
It came down to BTs,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, because
Dang.
he denied me my grand strat at the last second of battle round 5. At the bottom of battle round 5, he denied me my grand strat because I accidentally killed too many guys.
Oh.
And I was like, ah.
Came down to it.
What was your second match?
So round 2, this was where I was really scared because this was Tim Zaleski, another good friend of mine, both Boise locals. We did not want to face Boise locals, but it happened. And he was bringing Seraphon, and this is Croak Daddy. We're talking the guy who dispels everything and blows up the board. This is where Teclis's 4-up army-wide ward within 16 inches, and then it degrades with wounds, really came in handy. So I was like, I feel comfortable giving you the first turn. So then I took that initial Comet's Call wave, and I was like, 4-up ward. No, 4-up ignore. Wow. 4-up ignore. Wow. 4-up ignore. Wow. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then I measured out to see if I could sling mortal wounds back at him within 18. But since he took first, nothing's within 18. But just the sheer power of being able to ignore the spell you take and then hand that back out to the closest enemy unit for D3 mortal wounds, insane. So after locking down magic, I found myself in a good position to drop the Purple Sun. The Purple Sun was close enough to those 2 dinosaurs. I'm telling you guys, if there's anything I can roll, it's 1s. 6s, no, never. But 1s, you can rely on me, definitely. So I found a good spot. Purple Sun moved up, hit the 2 Stegodons, and he's like, from how the board looks at this point, I'm just going to shake your hand now and we can count it out. I was like, you sure? And then, yeah, it was just kind of like that, unfortunately. Purple Sun has got some feels bad to it once it starts removing, 500 points of your army.
Yeah, for sure.
But what I thought was a bad matchup ended up being a great matchup for me. So Seraphon was decent.
So you have a 5-up or a 4-up magic doesn't affect you?
Yeah, 4-up,
That's
army
so
wide.
good.
And when you did the Comet's Call, I negated all 3 of them because it's 50-50 chance. It's Nighthaunt saves. If you roll your 50-50s, you're good.
Yeah. So my second game was into Ideneth Deepkin. I can't remember the guy's name right now, and I failed to write it down. I have it written down somewhere else. But he's one of the Corsairs. He's a real nice guy. Really nice guy. His list is good, man. It's your standard, 2 units of thralls, reavers, 2 units of thralls with the bows. It's got the Achillean King. It's got what's the aspect of the storm, the big fish guy?
Mathlin.
That's the guy. And then it has the a Tidecaster in it. And then 3 big sharks and that's it.
Good old Alapexes.
Really, really good. He's got bounty hunters in there. He has expert conquerors in there. So again, with my single drop battalion, I make him go first. And I don't know, man. Alariel was she just tanked so much damage, and she just goes in and would kill a screen, go in, kill a screen.
Ram.
And then, because I think at this point I realized that I could use her as an anvil, and I'd Mystic Shielded her, and I'd all out defense, and I would just move her around more aggressively, and then I was using the scythes to delete units. So the biggest feels bad in that game is with Nara Root, I can 3d6 cast and drop the lowest. So I used 3d6 cast and rolled for Metamorphosis. And Metamorphosis is her spell that targets a unit, and I targeted his Achillean King, and I hit a 12, and I proc 10 mortals on him and turned him into a tree. And it's like, yeah, he just turns into a beautiful tree, and then more stuff comes in.
I'm gonna teleport between that later. Don't you worry.
Exactly. and then more stuff comes out of the tree, and it's like he did such a good job. Like that hurts to have like a 250 point unit just deleted like that.
It really
And
does.
he was like, "That was cool. That was really cool." And he was super nice. And then I was like a jerk, and I was like, "I'll make it a blue tree for the ocean." And he's still he was such a nice guy, such a good player. We
Salt on the wound.
Yeah, we finished that. I mean, we played the full game. I do think we called it at 4 and just tallied up the last of the game. But Deepkin are still fun, man. They're a good
They're
army.
good. They're nichey and they're very good. And I hope they stay in. I hate to call it format because that's like Magic terms, but I really hope that they stick around in the tournament scene because they bring that natural counter shooting tech.
Mm-hmm. So we're both 2-2 in this point. We're going to round 3. Who's your round 3?
So this was a stressful one because David stressed me out early because this is the guy he lost to at the GWGT. This is Matt Beasley and his Slaneshi host. I have 0 games against Slanesh, especially the Lurid Haze, but I had an idea of how the army worked. I know D3 of them would go into the Shadow Realm, which he rolled his 3 on the D3 and got 3 in the Shadow Realm, which was Sigvald and 2 Blissbarb archers that were just maxed. He had so many Blissbarb archers. It was insane. But that one, it felt a little bit more comfortable after giving him the first turn. That initial wave and, the fire that came from the archers wasn't as scary as I thought it would be because my army has that natural -1 to hit, with Shining Company. I kept Teclis pretty reserved so he could kind of protect, myself. But that's when I had to make a decision. Tim Zaletsky, my game 2, we were chatting a week prior, and he gave me some tech on how to beat an incarnate because I had never faced one until this match. This is my first incarnate, first time meeting up with one. And so he told me about a week ago, he's like, you know what? You put all your fire into it, battle round 1, and if you got the purple sun, you put the purple sun onto it round 2. And if they're foolish enough to try and eat it, most of the time at just a +1, if you can de-level it in the first round, it ends up killing itself. But instead of it killing itself, that's when I rolled my 1 for the incarnate in battle round 2, and it sucked it inside of the sun, which was a very good lead for me right there. And then the game kind of played out. I was able to do some chip mortal wounds around the table. It looked grim. It really did, because I think he summoned about 1,200 points of extra models. I fought 60 extra demonettes. I fought some type of hero model and 3 Flayer chariots, and that was on top of his list. So I was easily fighting what felt like 3,000 points, but we had a very hard fight. There was a point where things got a little confusing. I brought out, total Eclipse. I put my card down. I told him it was really loud, and I guess he missed it. So he used an all-out defense. It didn't really come into handy too much, but he wanted to, kind of backtrack and take that one back. But he had already rolled so many good saves that it was unrepairable for us at that moment. But other than that, he was a hard opponent. It was a good fight, and yeah, was able to take the W on that one through just whittling everything little by little.
So 3-0 on day 1. Good start.
Day 1.
So my game 3 was into a guy named Kyle. I'm a Night Hunt player, and going into Night Hunt, I'm like, let's do it. I know this army front and back. Night Hunt, though, are like a pretty weird counter to my list, and Kyle's is even more so. So my list is good
saves, baby. 50-50.
They ignore all of my rend, and I'm coming out with rend 4, and they don't care.
They don't care.
And so Kyle's list is, Scarlet Doom, but he only has 1 big squad of the Blade guys. What's interesting about his list are the double. He takes a corpse cart for a +1 to wound or +1 to hit aura.
Corpse cart, Night Hunt.
And then he takes 2 Miremorn Banshee squads. And then he puts his whole army under it. So he has his Unbind, and then one of his things is trying to eat it. And then if that one fails, the other one tries to eat it.
Wow. 3 Unbinds.
I didn't get a single spell off the whole game. So
I remember you were playing that for the long haul because we were outside waiting and we are like, where's Mike? It's like, he's in there. Mike's in there and he is fighting this one because he ain't getting no spells off.
I got nothing. I lied. I got the Spite Swarm off turn 1, and that's all I got to do.
Yeah, it doesn't affect their model, so they can't unbind it, correct?
Correct.
With all those extra unbinds, it's when you try and go after them, they're like,
right. No. It was rough, dude. So basically he moved his whole army into the center. I did what I normally do. I hit him, bounced out. He moved because Night Hunter fast, then he moved his whole thing forward again, and now I have to hit him. Because if I don't hit him, if I just stand still, he's gonna swamp my whole army. So I go into him and I bounced. I did I did no damage with Alariel. I think I killed
No.
yeah, I think I did 4 damage and then he brought back 3, so I did essentially 0. And then he dogpiled Alariel, killed everything. And I was like,
This is how it's gonna go.
fantastic. that's that's how it is. Great player. Like it's not dice rolls that screwed me. It's not rules. Like he's a good player. He knows his army well. Um, we had a great game though. Like he was digging on the night hunt. I mean the Sylvaneth. I'm digging on the night hunt. We were both having a wonderful time. So even with we called the game. We have the TO sitting with us, right? We call the game. We're like, dude, you win. Let's just talk out the last because we have 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah.
Like, let's just talk it out. Let's get you your full points. And Kyle starts talking in a way that he's like, no, I think you could win it. I think you could take it. And I was like, Kyle, I appreciate you, man, but I've already conceded the game. So unless you want to concede to me, let's just score up your points and call it a game. So I was 2-1 on day one. So 3 fantastic games. Yeah. So going into day 2, you're sitting on the top end of the brackets.
Stress is on.
Stress is on.
You and me teched out my next match. So my match 4 was Giants, and we teched this one really hard at the house before that day, and it served. So I had an idea of castling my army, and when you're facing Giants, you just don't castle because they're just like you said, they're going to send the whole army towards that castle. So splitting up my fastest moving units, those Dawn Riders, the Hurakan Windmage on 2 separate corners of the map, I was able to, grab points as he would leave them because he only had 4 models. But his name is Robbie Bear Steinbring, and this guy was probably one of the best players I've ever had the pleasure to play with at that tournament. Not to discredit anybody else. I had great games with everybody else, but me and Bear, we just hit it off like immediately. We're just having a great game, short the shit. It was really nice. And so
now,
that matchup, he ended up, yeah, go ahead.
You know, Bear plays on rerolling ones.
Yes, he does. And I
Yeah.
just he just told me about that. So I just started I just subscribed to them to watch some of their videos now. So I could touch base. But he set up terrain, and this is where it all went south. Okay.
Yeah.
So he put the 2 giant impassable terrain pieces on the edges. And I saw that opportunity as a way because, Giants have a 6-inch base and these terrain pieces are only 3 inches from the edge. I saw that as an opportunity to hide my archers. So my archers were able to take cover behind those pieces of LOS line of sight terrain. And as we know with Lumineth Realm Lords, as long as I don't have line of sight, I'm shooting you, with everything. So I hid behind those terrain features, put my my terrain feature, which is also impassable, in one of the little holes that was exposed, and no Giants were coming in there. He was throwing rocks at me and everything, but no Giants were coming in there. So my archers were able to, shoot freely. I think it was just kind of a learning lesson. He was like, I probably shouldn't have put those there. Is what it is. But Teclis and everybody else were just flying around the board, picking their fights. The highlight of that match was at the very end. In the beginning, both of the big gate breakers were bullying Teclis. They both got the charges towards Teclis, blew out Teclis's bodyguards. The bullies were coming to pick on the nerd. So last battle round, I do this one's mine with Teclis to fight one of those gate breakers. So this time the nerd is coming back. The nerd is going to get the bully this time. So I charge him with Teclis. I charge him with Dawn Riders. I pull out my Sentinels. I charge him with Sentinels. Completely surrounded, like with Sentinels, and the purple sun kind of sitting there just right to give me a little bit of rend. And so I'm going down the line. I'm activating the Dawn Riders first. Bring him down from 9 wounds to 7 wounds. And then I'm like, all right, this is risky because you're going to punch Teclis for this, but I'm activating the archers. The archers attack, -1 rend on these little daggers, 3 wounds taken off of the Gatebreaker. He's down to 4. Teclis finishes him off with 2 excess damage.
Nice.
For this one's mine. That was crazy. Crazy. So the nerd got his. The nerd, stood up to the bully and he was able to bring him down. It was a hell of a fight. It was good.
So my turn 4 was against a guy named Ricky. Ricky got best painted, gorgeous army. This was the Trogus and Kragnos.
The dog fight.
And Kragnos. So it's basically Kragnos. Highlights of this one, my army functioned in the exact same way. Kill a unit, kill a unit, kill a unit, kill a unit. We had some god-on-god action with Kragnos and Alariel, and Kragnos could not do it, and Alariel took him out.
Wow, Kragnos' job is to beat up Alariel, but all right.
Well, he had to charge into Dryads, and then he can only hit Alariel a little bit, and then it was a good fight. I think he held her for like 3 turns. They just sat there and just beat the crap out of each other. Here's the best part of the game, though. I have to get a battle tactic, so I go in with I have to kill something next to a tree, eradicate the trespassers. So I go in with the Kurnoth size. They miss a little bit. I need to do a few more damage to this unit of Trogus. So I go in with Alariel. Everything into the Trogus. I miss it by 1 wound. Dang it. Missed my battle tactic. But to do this, I have to get a hit by I have to get hit by this Dankhold Trogboth. I don't care. It's fine. I'm Mystic Shielded. I have only taken 1 damage.
Safe.
Dankhold Trogboth only has 4 attacks. I'm fine.
Too easy.
He punched them all through. I failed them all, and he did 15 damage and killed her in 1 shot.
No!
Ricky came to my side of the table. We hugged. We high-fived. He just knocked her out of the park. She came back turn 5, summoned a unit, won the game. Didn't matter, but it was...
Didn't matter. But dang!
You've never seen a Dankhold do that. So we're going into round 4. Round 5. You're 4-0. I'm 3-1. We got 7 more minutes. How was your round 5?
So this was me up against my mirror match, my final round. It was Lumineth Realm Lords. I felt very confident about it, but I learned, I don't know if I so much learned too much of a hard lesson, but this man, I tell you, rolled his 5s and his 5s and his 5s and his 6s. He unbound me for 3 battle rounds straight. We all know if we're Lumineth Realm Lord players and we've got Teclis and Teclis is doing nothing for 3 battle rounds, it's over because he's 780 some odd points and he's got to put out some stuff. And I was just unbound the whole game. I felt very confident on my 10s. I felt very confident on my +2 casts, but when you just get unbound, it's where it went. So he slaughtered my stuff. I had 1 good battle round, and then the rest I couldn't get tactics. I couldn't do anything because everything I wanted to go after, I could never get a spell off. I just couldn't do anything. So +1 to cast and dispel for Zaitrec, which is what I took as well as Zaitrec, but I get +2 because of Teclis. It was enough to stop me dead in my tracks. And so he annihilated me fighting for 2nd place.
Yeah, he ended up 2nd, right?
Yeah, he did. We were playing for 2nd.
Rough match.
Annihilated.
Rough. So what was your final place? What did you do? 8th?
I was 8th. 8th on Boise Cup.
Yeah, and I know you really wanted all you wanted was best Lumineth.
I just wanted to be
right?
best Lumineth. That was it, but I had to face my mirror match.
Yeah.
No.
So
no.
And then my round 5, I go into a mirror match.
Oh, when I say mirror, he didn't bring Teclis. This was a non-Teclis list. But go ahead.
It's still same faction, same setup.
Yeah.
Because I went into Liam, and Liam has the big tree lords and everything. What's interesting with his tech against mine is he can actually fight last.
Oh yes, make you
right?
fight last.
So that's rough. I want to delete 1 unit at a time, and he can fight last that unit and kill it. I don't like this at all.
I don't like it.
I hand off turn 1 to him, and he alpha strikes me with Durthu. And his Durthu killed 5 of my 6 Kurnoth Hunters turn 1.
Ooh, the scythe ones?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, I may have just lost this game. This game is over. You know, I was able to rally them back to 5 by the end of the game. Like I rezzed, rally, and then Durthu came back in and killed him again.
Oh,
Durthu killed 1,000 points of scythe by the end of that game. But it was Alariel, man. Alariel just kind of cruised through and just killed the Tree Lord, killed the Tree Lord, killed the Tree Lord.
Mine.
Well, and I realized at this point that I could make her so tough and so tanky and so defensive that I could just cruise through. Now, Liam and I had this weird moment. So on his turn, or on my turn, I come into him, I strike and fade, right? And I said to Liam, I said, okay, I'm going to strike and fade wholly within 15 of this so that I can give Alariel my -1 to Ren from the Spite Swarm.
Sure.
Liam says, okie dokie. Next turn, Liam goes, I have to kill Alariel. That's my battle tactic. I have to kill Alariel with the Tree Lord. I said, great. I'm going to Finest Hour. She has Mystic Shield, and I'm going to use the Spite Swarm to reduce your Ren by 1. And he says, great. So then we do the whole turn. He fights with Durthu, a Tree Lord Ancient, and a Tree Lord into Alariel. He does 2 damage.
Was it her finest hour?
It was also her finest hour. So I was still sitting on a 2-up save after all of this. Here's the weird thing that happens. He goes, oh, Michael, you have to be wholly within 9 of your Spite Swarm to use that ability. And I look and I read the rule again, and I mixed up. Its range is 15 for when you summon it, and it's 9 for when you're using the ability. So we're looking at this. I've screwed up. He's screwed up. We've talked it through. He knows my intention. I had the movement to come back to it. So how do we do this so it's fair? Do we redo the whole turn? Probably not. So I said, listen, pick any other battle tactic that you could accomplish.
That's fair.
Make that your battle tactic. So Liam picks a different battle tactic. Done. And then we move on. We went to round 5. And I think I snuck it out by 1 or 2 points at the bottom of round 5. We had a great match. We had some Warsong on Warsong Revenant action. It was good. And then it put me as number 10 overall general, and then best Sylvaneth player.
Yeah, so, you left with 3 awards, but you held over. No,
I had to hand over 1. I had to say no to 1 because my paint job
hogging them all. Really I want them all. Give them to me.
So it was a great tournament. Super fun with the Rage Babies. I think we did really well. We have 2 minutes before our time is up. Any other last thoughts about that tournament? How the weekend went?
Big takeaways, and this goes for everybody. If you play armies like Lumineth Realm Lords, definitely use pods because they help out your opponent so much. When I say pods, just little things that help your opponent identify the things that you do, the spells that you cast, the effects on the table, who has what shields, who has this, who has that. Even if it's just like Mystic Shield and stuff like that, you do a great service to your opponent because it is awful when they're like, what do you have going on? And you're like, well, this, and they're like, I don't remember any of that. You don't have anything that you can really show them to prove that because they can't keep track of everything. It's really loud in there, so it does go a long way. So if you do play armies that require a lot of things to keep track of, make sure you got some cards or something like that just as a service to your opponent because it goes.
That's a really good point. Yep, that's a really good point. One thing that I'll say is, this was my first time going out to Boise and meeting a lot of the Rage Babies, and man, what a bunch of cool dudes. Like from the very start, everyone was super friendly and super welcoming, and I definitely left with a new group of friends. And like we went out there with Teddy and Cameron, and I got home, my wife asked me how it was, and I was like, I think I just met a whole bunch of friends, and like these are super cool people, and we had a fantastic time. Like win, lose, or draw,
Miss you guys already.
Yeah. So we'll have you out sometime in the fall, hopefully.
Yes, there's a plan for me to come out there and record a bunch of videos for you guys' battle reports. We'll be bringing Lumineth Realm Lords, so we'll get some acclamation to your studio there.
All right, Wargamers. I think that is it for us. Thank you so much for joining us for this tournament recap. Jarod, thank you so much for your time today.
Always a pleasure, Michael. Take care, Battleshock Wargamers. We'll see you guys again.